Thanks for joining us. And we are here at the Ghana Tourism Authority to speak to the CEO of the authority. We want to find out from him the contribution of the tourism industry toward national development, and also we'll touch on the Ghana domestic tourism, which was launched some few weeks ago. Thank you so much for having us in your office.
Thank you very much.
According to a 2017 Ghana Travel and Tourism Council report, the Ghana tourism industry contributes a 10.4% of GDP, and also almost about 300 and 313 million employment. How does the Ghana tourism industry contribute to national economy and development?
All right, I think there are several ways to look at it. We can talk about employment, we can talk about general economic activity. If you take, for example, a hotel, they will employ people. Apart from employment generation, the hotel will also probably provide food for its guests. The food would have been produced by a farmer. You will have somebody who is bringing the food from the farmland, so the distribution chain. We'll have somebody who probably also is providing other things that the hotel will need to serve its customers. Let's say soaps, let's say bed sheets, let's say other facilities. So the entire value chain of tourism or the hospitality sector is quite broad. And so when we talk about employment generation, sometimes I don't want to limit it to the number of people who are employed by, let's say, a nightclub or a hotel or a restaurant. I try to look at the entire value chain, and so the direct and indirect employment. And if you look at it that way, I think we are a major contributor to employment generation in the country. In terms of also things like airlines that operate in the country, one of the key uh, areas of where they get their business is people who are coming in as tourists, as business tourists coming in for conferences, workshops, and the rest. And so, by and large, I believe our contribution to the economy is sometimes understated. And that is why we've been working on a tourism satellite account, because then that will look at the various aspects, things that probably we do not count within our direct benefits to the country, things that a tourism satellite account can pick up. So when we talk about remittances to the country, uh, or even investments, I mean, yesterday, for example, we met up with somebody who came here for the first time in 2019 as part of the year of return. When he came, he saw opportunity, and he has established a business that is employing 20 people. So if you tell somebody that tourism is an investment promotion tool, they will say how. But when somebody comes and visits a country, apart from the leisure part, the fun part, apart from going around, they will also be looking at what are the opportunities in this market. And so when it comes to investment promotion, we play a role. When it comes to employment generation, we play a role. When it comes to taxes, we play a role. When it comes to so many other things that help in economic development, tourism plays a key role.
You touched on the year of return in 2019, uh, the Ministry of Tourism, and also your agency, that is the Ghana Tourism Authority. You launched a very successful year of return, where we had quite a number of African descents in the diaspora coming home to Ghana to have an experience of how Ghana feels like. How successful was that particular initiative?
I think the year of return was a tremendous success. It was successful beyond our own expectation, if I should put it that way, because we started out looking at numbers, how many people can we bring in, far above the previous year. But then it went beyond that. It went beyond just number of people who are visiting Ghana to relationships in business, to Ghana being put on the map in a way that we've never been. I mean, if you look at almost every international media outlet, did a showpiece on Ghana for the year of return. Uh, we had China come here with their CCTV channel. We had the BBC here, we had the CNN here, we had SABC, we had CNBC. Everybody came and did a piece on Ghana. That is mileage that we couldn't have paid for. That is sort of uh, exposure that will cost you millions of dollars if you were to pay for it. You're looking at also in terms of activities on social media, the celebrities that came here who attached their brand to the country Ghana. People like Steve Harvey, people like Samuel L. Jackson, people like Naomi Campbell, people like Boris Kujo, people like Kofi Kingston, people like AJ Johnson and the rest, and Derek Johnson. All these people came and have now put their brand, which is very, very um, heartwarming for us. So everybody that you talk to said, "Oh, I saw Steve Harvey's video whilst he was in Ghana," and so all of a sudden people are looking at destination decisions that they have to make. If I want to travel, where do I go to? Ghana is probably a destination I want to go because Steve Harvey was there, because Kofi Kingston was there. I saw him having fun, because Samuel Jackson was there, and I saw what he was doing. So we've gone beyond just um, numbers, and also just beyond just dollar spent. Because if you look at the length of stay of people coming to Ghana for the year of return, we moved from 8 days to 10 days. So if you have somebody coming into your country for 10 days, look at what happens to arts and nightclubs, art center, people buying stuff and all that. So it's really, really helped, and that's why we have kept at it with Beyond the Return, looking at a 10-year project.
Yeah, so even before we get into the beyond the return, you mentioned that the number of people who came into the country exceeded your expectation. How many people were you expecting, and how many people actually came into the country?
All right, so when I talk about exceeding our expectations, it's not just the number of people, like I said. The number of people was important, but exceeded the expectation in terms of the other things that happened that we were not expecting. So, for example, we never expected that the Congressional Black Caucus, all of them, we decided they will visit Ghana and visit the Cape Coast Castle. It's priceless. John Lewis, who was part of the struggles uh, in those days with Martin Luther King and the rest, was part of the Congressional Black Caucus team that came here. And he cased the floor at the castle. When he went back a few months later, he passed on. But we have these pictures and the legacy. I mean, seeing the Congressional Black Caucus kneeling in the House of Congress with a kente around their neck, the kente that they got from Ghana. It's priceless. These are things that we cannot just count, say, oh, these are numbers. These are not numbers. These are things that will live on, the imagery that people will see and see and see and see again and say, wow, this happened in Ghana. But in terms of numbers, I mean, I think when we started out, we said we were looking at, if you put together the box of Caribbean destinations and other markets that we're looking at, we said we'd probably be happy to get to 1 million. We ended up at 1.130. So that was beyond what we expected. But importantly, we also started getting some remarkable data. Younger people were coming. Um, you had people who were coming not just because of the issue of the transatlantic slave trade. People were now coming into Ghana because they felt that Ghana was fun, with programs like Afrochella, Afro Nation, and the rest. So all these things put together made us very, very, very happy with what we have started. But like I always say, this is a journey that we have to embark on and make sure that we have the long haul. So it shouldn't be 2019 was good and the rest is down. We need to keep the momentum, and that's what we are trying to do.
Yes, always on the minds of Ghanaians, such a big initiative like that, people are always concerned about, how much profit did the country made. I don't know if you can share with us how much profit the country made out of the year of return.
I think, like I've indicated earlier, tourism is not a profit-driven activity. When I say that, we do tourism promotion. The profits go to the private sector. So, for example, the people who come, they stay in hotels. Out of the 1.1 million, let's assume that even half of them stay in hotels. That hotel will make profit. Then they will pay taxes to government. Let's take people who come in here and go to the art center. They will buy a craft. That goes to the private sector. They will go to a restaurant or a chop bar and eat fufu. That does not go directly into government, but it spurs economic activity. And so, to that extent, we have a research team at the airport. What they do is to check with people who come in. How long did you stay? How much did you spend? The average spend during the year of return was $2,930 per person. So that is money that came into country. So if you multiply that with the number of people who came, you probably will say that this is the amount of money that came into the economy. And will you call it profit? I don't think so. Well, will you call it receipts? Yes. These are activities that generated money into the economy, and that's what we have put out. That we experienced that 3.3 billion is what came into the country through individual pockets. People who came. I mean, we were with a group who came. They went to an art gallery, and the average spent on that in that day on the art gallery was about $10,000. People were buying art. I didn't know even art was that expensive, because I buy my art from the street. But if you go to the gallery, you see art pieces that are selling for $3,000, $5,000. And I say, wow. And people pick three of them, four of them, without blinking. That is money that is going into people's pockets who are employing people who would then also turn it back into the economy by also maybe going to buy shoes somewhere or kente somewhere for somebody also to benefit.
So just after a very successful initiative, um, you intended to launch uh, a 10-year project, as you indicated earlier, Beyond the Return. It was supposed to be launched in June 2020, but COVID-19 came in. I mean, disrupted everything, disrupted the whole agenda. Uh, should we expect the Year of Return to be launched, and when?
I think I wouldn't call it a launch, but I think the activities continued. We didn't break to say let's wait and start. Even in November 2019, the president had mentioned Beyond the Return. In December 2019, the president held a breakfast, the African Diaspora Breakfast, and said Beyond the Return is going to start. So we started in a way by looking at the pillars, the 7 pillars that we have, and then said, how do we keep going even in a COVID era? So what we did differently was we knew that because of the restrictions on travel, people were not going to come, but we could also reach them through our virtual platforms. So we had what we call the return conversations, where on a monthly basis, we're doing master classes. On a monthly basis, we're bringing engagement between the African diaspora and Ghanaians. And so people were still uh, thinking about Ghana. They had Ghana on their minds, and we've already started seeing. The moment we said the airports are open, we saw a steady flow of people coming in from the diaspora, especially from the US. We've had celebrities coming here, and now the traffic is building up. So we are very confident that with vaccinations going around the world, and if we can keep a lid on COVID-19, very soon we'll start getting numbers that will be mind-boggling.
But it was indicated that the Beyond the Return will be unveiled on June 2020. So since uh, it didn't happen, should Ghanaians expect a specific day for the unveiling?
No, we have unveiled the pillars already. I think we did that in September 2020 with the senior minister, Honorable Osafo Maafo, then, the senior minister then, coming to do that. Last 2 weeks, the president himself inaugurated a steering committee, which is co-chaired by the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Tourism. So that shows how serious the president is taking the initiative. So we wouldn't say things have stopped, but like I've said, you wouldn't see a lot of the fanfare that you saw in 2019. What we are doing now is to go to the table. For example, yesterday there was a diaspora investment summit looking at how do we attract investments into the economy. That is far different from is a return. You come, you go to Cape Coast, you go to Amina, you go to Apam to see the dungeons. Sorry, Anumabo, to see the dungeons. Now you have to come in based on some of the pillars that we have unveiled, engage with the community and see how we can build on from there. So to a large extent, I would say we are on a journey. We are not going to stop and say let's do another unveiling. That has been done in September.
According to a World Tourism Organization report in 2020, indicates that international travels have declined to about 80%, meaning we are not seeing quite a number of people traveling outside the borders into the country, fully recovered from COVID-19, and also some of the hospitality industry, the nightclubs and recreational centers are not fully opened. How will you describe the current state of the Ghanaian tourism industry?
I would say we are in a very difficult place, but we are getting out gradually. I mean, things were very bad somewhere in June, July 2020, 3 months after COVID arrived on our shores. We shut down a few things. Things were very tough. But this is an industry that is also very resilient. And so once things started easing up a little bit with restrictions being lifted, we started seeing some improvements. But we are not to the level that we are. I mean, you talked about international arrivals. In Ghana, we moved from 1.1 million to about 355,000. But what we have done is to understand where the challenges are and what we can do to spur growth. And that is where we are now. Last week we launched Experience Ghana, Share Ghana as a campaign to promote domestic and regional tourism. For us, Nigeria is a big market. We feel that if we can bring in our brothers and sisters from Nigeria, we don't need any other country because that's probably a big enough population for our tourism. So we are keeping a close focus on Nigeria. We're hoping that by the time our land borders are opened, Nigerians are interested in visiting Ghana. So we've been doing a lot of engagement with the Nigerian market. We're also looking at domestic. I mean, even during COVID, we saw that about 70% of our visitations to tourist sites were from Ghanaians. We want to move it to about 90% because the more if Ghanaians can move to every tourist site, move to every hotel, then your even cost of marketing goes down because to reach our average American, the probably will be spending about $20-$25 per head, whereas here you can do with about 20 cedis per head. So let's try and do a little more domestic tourism and get things going.
Yeah, so you mentioned about domestic tourism. Even before we get into what is it about and how it's intended to boost the local economy and all of that, a 2015 Ghana Statistical Service report indicates that about 15% of Ghanaians travel to have leisure. Don't you think it is something that is going to negatively impact the domestic tourism campaign?
No, we have leisure assets. I mean, our leisure assets are improving. If you go to Adam, for example, you have a lot of new resorts that have come up. People go out there for water sports. The Dodi World has come back. People are going on to the Dodi World cruises. It's happening live almost every week. If you go to Safari Valley in Edukrom, I mean, so people are adding on assets. I mean, the good thing is that when it comes to leisure tourism, there are so many things that you can do within the leisure space. And I believe that we have the resources in a nation that can be used for that. And so I would say yes, probably sometimes we oversell our cultural and our heritage site, but leisure is also an advantage that we have. And I think we will start exploring it better with this new campaign.
Just a few weeks ago, the president of the country launched the Ghana domestic tourism and also commissioned some buses which will be used to deploy tourists from one tourist site to the other. What is the domestic tourism about?
Experience Ghana, Share Ghana is a new domestic tourism campaign. We know that domestic is important. We feel that before people come in, we are here, we can move around. And so that's the whole idea, that we are creating a platform to promote tourism. We are creating a platform which we call the PPP platform, public-private partnership platform, where the tour operators, the hotels, the car rentals, everybody has come to the table and we are saying let's do it together. So they are also offering packages that are very attractive for your average traveler.
So we cannot talk about domestic tourism without talking about uh, road infrastructure leading various or linking various tourist sites. Um, in the country, we don't really have a proper road network. Don't you think that would be a challenge? And
It's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. I mean, if you take some of the sites, they are they have been fixed. I mean, if you take Kakun for example, the road leading to Kakun for a very long time was bad, very bad. But now it's been fixed, so you see an opportunity for people to go back there. There are others that we have earmarked, put together. The Ministry of Roads has assured us that they are going to do a lot of work in the tourism roads this year. So we are quite hopeful. The opportunity in there for some of the sites is that it's not every site that will need a first class road. There are some sites that are within a certain state, but that's the state that they have to be in to attract. I mean, people. It's not everybody who is looking for. When it comes to adventure tourism, there are certain areas where you probably will go with the bumpiness, like you're going on a Dakar rally. You know, not that you need that to travel to a tourist site. So I'm just saying there are few sites that are just like that. But the ones that need to be fixed, like Boti, we've taken note of it. A few sites up north that need some work, but there are ones that have been already done.
we are not entirely immune from COVID-19, and although there are vaccines some vaccines in the country which people are being inoculated, the president aimed at targeting 600,000 or so domestic travels. Do you think this target can be achieved?
Oh yes, we have achieved it before. We were around 649 before in COVID, so we can go back to the number. But to do that, we need to work at it, and that's what we are doing.
So, on the buses that the president commissioned, how is it going to be used?
All right, so we have a working committee with the private sector, the tour operators, because they really are the ones who organize tours on these buses. And what we have told them is that we are providing the administrative support for them to run it, so that it stays relevant and it's something that can sustain itself. So yes, the Tour Operators Union of Ghana are working with us on its implementation.
Okay. So finally, uh, considering the domestic tourism authority, which is intended to boost the local economy, and also issues of we not having very little foreign travels, this has negatively impacted the tourism industry. How is the agency or the ministry at large intends to, what are the measures that they intend to roll out in order to bring the tourism industry back on its feet?
I think we are doing a few things. Marketing is one of them. Digitization is the other. So currently we are working on a single window platform. That platform will lend itself to people to book wherever they are going to every tourist site. You can go online, check it out, pay for it before you get there. So that brings the facility closer. And then you also have the domestic side of things. How do we promote aggressively? And then finally, the Beyond a Return project, because that's a project that is bringing people in. That's a project that is trying to position Ghana as a Pan-African hub. And we believe that once we put all these things together in a holistic, interlocking, successful plan, we will succeed.
All right. Thank you very much for having us in your office to discuss about all this important conversation regarding the state of the Ghana tourism